Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Perseverance Mindset Podcast. I'm your host and founder, John Zadzura. If you haven't tuned into our show before, we dive into the art of building meaningful relationships in life and in business through the lens of common sense. That's right, common sense. And my background in establishing customer and stakeholder relationships led me to create this wonderful show and have amazing, extraordinary guests. Now our purpose is to engage in real, everyday conversations that talk about many topics, many different industries, whether it's business, tech, finance, fitness, anything. Encouraging listeners, both young and old, to grow their scope of knowledge. There is no age limit to knowledge, folks. Let hard work, consistency, and accountability lead you through the journey to be the professional I know you can be. Now, I'm so glad you're joining us today because we have an extraordinary guest. And I mean that in every term, every letter of the word, extraordinary. And in tonight's show, we are focusing on being Italian American Heritage Month. And I can tell you what, there is no better person to have on the line with me today than my friend Anthony. And our show today is going to focus on the many contributions of the Italian American community that helped build our amazing and wonderful country. Now, many arrive in the United States from the humblest beginnings and have gone to live the American dream. And I truly mean that in every form of the word, including some of my great-grandparents included, becoming distinguished doctors, lawyers, business people, contractors, small business owners, large business owners. It's truly an incredible story in the story of America. Now, I'd like to welcome a great friend of mine, a friend of ours. There's a difference. I'm just going to tell you that. There is a difference in that paraphrase. Believe me. He is making his first appearance on our show this evening. He is an entrepreneur, a chapter president of, I want to pronounce it right. Anthony, can you help me with the name? I want to get it right.
Filitalia International.
Filitalia International. Welcome to the show, my good friend Anthony. Anthony, how are you? How are you doing?
John, how you doing? Doing well?
I'm doing well. Greetings, my friend. How are you today? Everything going well? All of our listeners out there, and most important, let's start with a brief introduction of you, Anthony. Who you are, what you do, and the most important question, is it sauce or gravy? That's the whole point of this show. Like, we're trying to figure out, the real. We're not trying to be the fakes here, the fugazis. We want the real, so is it sauce or gravy? What is it? What would you say?
I'll start with that. And I'll give you the reasoning why it's sauce. And because the terminology in Italian is sugo di pomodoro, which means the sauce. That's a
sauce. Okay. Okay. So it's officially sauce. Okay.
I know a lot of people in South Philly are going to give me a lot of shit for that, but it is what it
is. Listen, hey, listen. This is the whole reason for the show. That's it, folks. Time to go home. Anyway, that's nonsense. Listen, Anthony. Again, tell us who you are, some of your story, and some of your background. Our listeners really want to know, and we appreciate you coming on today in celebration of this historic event.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good. It's a good month to celebrate. I know we're a little bit past October now, but
we are a little bit past October with the significant events of the last few days. It's been crazy. We've been back and forth, and
very busy few days. Yeah, for sure.
It's very busy few days, and let's just say people have called out of work. People, there's been reports. So I heard some people like looking down long office buildings, staring down. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. Yeah. But it's been rough. But Anthony, again, please don't let me interrupt you anymore. Who is Anthony? What do you do? And some of your family story.
That's a loaded question, my friend. I mean, I got you. How much time you got here?
I got all the time until our app tells me it's no good and the blinking light goes off. So we're here. I've got the coffee, and we're all set. The little spoon. Now we're in serious business here. Yeah.
So you hit on some of that stuff. Entrepreneur. I have my own businesses. So my background of Italian descent. Both my parents are from Italy. Calabria, the region, southern region of Italy, on the water, on the Ionian coast. Small town called Isca Sulionio. Very, very small town. So they immigrated here. My father came first in 1964 after he was in the army. And then he went back in 69, met my mother, brought her back in September of 69, or December of 69. They got married in September of 69.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly thereafter, my oldest brother was born, Dominic. And then 74, my middle brother, Sam or Severio, was born. And then I was born in 79. And then, my father was started his own business in '74. He was working as an auto repair. In auto repair, that's what he did in the Army. He was very proficient at it. He was very good mechanically inclined,
Awesome.
good diagnostician. Pretty much can fix anything, any problem you have. So that's what he did. That's his profession he took up when he came here, and then or the skill or trade he took up when he came here, and then opened up a business finally in '74, and he had that up until we sold it back in 05. 2005, we sold it. So me and my brothers worked there. My mother worked there. We worked there during the summers. We were fortunate enough that our parents were, they understood the importance of education. They valued that, and they sent all of us to. I didn't go to post grad school, but my oldest brother's doctor. He went to Archbishop Ryan St. Albert's, actually in his parish where I'm at right now. St.
Okay.
Albert's Grade School, Catholic. Archbishop Ryan Catholic, and then he went to LaSalle University Catholic.
Hmm.
My middle brother Sam went to same thing. It was St. Albert's, Archbishop Ryan, LaSalle, and then I went to St. Albert's, Archbishop Ryan, and I went to Villanova, and I took up engineering.
Great. Awesome.
So
Good school.
yeah,
Good school.
I have an engineering background, so it's a little bit about myself, and then I ended up working as an engineer for I graduated in '01 from college, so I worked as an engineer for 1 year, and then I moved to New York to become an equity trader, which is where my true passion was. And
Awesome.
we opened up
Awesome.
an office in Midtown Manhattan. We had that there for 4 years. We moved back to Philadelphia, opened up another trading office in Philadelphia. We had that for another 5 years up until about 2010-ish.
Okay.
I went to the wealth management side, and then I got into the insurance with the wealth management because if used properly, insurance is a wealth builder if it's used properly.
Now
So
that now that is a great tool. And just to clarify, you what years were you did you have your business in New York? What years, and then what
So
year
we
did you
had the
make your
office
way
in New
to?
York from 2002 until 2000. I think it was 2006. Then we came back in '06, and we had until
Okay.
2010. So it was like 4 or 5 years in New York, and then 4 years or 5 years in Philly. So that's what we had in Center City, Philadelphia. We had that's what the length of time that I was a professional trader. I was actually I had my professional licenses. We traded professionally.
Okay. Great.
So
So
then
then.
2010, we ended up going into the wealth management side, and that's where I started to learn about the insurance world.
Mhm.
And then in 2006, me and my partners, we decided to go our separate ways, and I started my own insurance agency, and then I bought one in 2019, bought another one, and then from there, that's where we're at now. We're building that up now. That's more liability insurance, and I wrapped all the other insurances. Insurance is like there's two aisles of from the insurance world for the most part. There's liability, and there's like life health accident, which is not really liability per se. So
Okay.
I was doing the life health accident stuff before, and then when I bought the liability insurance, like the commercial insurance, commercial property and casualty, which is liability, I ended up rolling all the insurance worlds together, and now we're A to Z pretty much in insurance.
Okay. Great. That's just an incredible story. Again, coming through, being raised, and you mentioned other siblings. How many other siblings do you officially have?
So I have two older brothers.
Two older brothers. Okay, brothers. That's tough. I have one myself. It's not easy sometimes, but
I was
if
the
you make
younger one. I always got beat up on, so it's all right.
they say you don't make it. Well, the saying is, be like, if you make it, we're not making it out alive anyway. So
Yeah,
it's good to have some fight along the
you
way.
get toughened up on your way.
You toughen up younger in your life, and then you take on the real challenge, which is life. Now that's just an incredible story. You started again going to school, small business, engineering. I didn't know that. We've been friends for a little while. You might have mentioned it to me, but that's great. Congrats on that achievement. And now do we have? And I know we mentioned it. It's it's not easy. So what was it like growing up in your household? Italian families, they're different from others. I'll just say that, and I say that in every good term of the word. Where was the focus? Now you said your family was heavily focused on education, which is highly important. What was that like growing up?
It's not like they beat it into us, but they were, we understood the importance of it. I mean, I guess we were pretty aware. I guess you're aware of your surroundings, I guess. So, you see how the parents, you know, they came from tough beginnings. Yeah, they came here pretty much. My dad came here pretty much with nothing, and he worked for a little while and he was able to squirrel away a couple dollars. And it's tough. It was tough work.
It's
So you
tough
see
work. Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, being auto repair is not easy. I mean, you're working in a hot garage
And
during the summer and a freezing cold garage during the
and
winter. So we had a pretty large operation at Continental Boulevard, which is up in Northeast Philadelphia.
okay.
Um, we were we were I don't want to say forced, but we were encouraged
You were
to
you were
work.
you were put in a position, and the position made the outcome. We could say
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, we were encouraged to work with our father in the
Hmm.
family business, so you can, it wasn't about. We were fortunate in a way that parents helped us out with school and stuff like that, but it came with an understanding of where the money came from and how difficult it was to make that money, a respect for the money.
Hmm.
That was part of the deal. If we were, parents were going to help out with things, we had to work with the business to understand where that came from. So it wasn't just kind of given to us. It was, you know,
It was
in
earned.
essence, in essence, we worked for it. I guess you could,
Hmm.
you know, qualify it that way. I guess, but
Hmm.
that was important for our parents for us to understand, the challenges it took to make that money to send us to school and pay for the house and pay for to live comfortably.
To live comfortably and to have a good start, a good life. But again, knowing that it was earned, nothing was given. It was earned, and the
Yeah,
hard work and the effort that it took for them to be able to help you in that way. And that's what family is. That's exactly what. Doesn't everybody hope to do that for their children, to have a better life for their children that
yeah.
they never had or had to work for to get to that level? It's just, that's incredible. Now, also too, I did want to bring up, where it was with my great grandparents were from much north, much north. They call it, the northern Italy, north. You have your border countries. You have, your Slovenia. You have your Germany, all that. And now, when your parents had immigrated to America, did they continue the language or did they fully assimilate? Because I know with my great grandparents, they fully assimilated. They could speak it between each other, but they wanted it to be English. They wanted English to be the standard. So how about that?
Um, so it wasn't my old. So my oldest brother was born in '70. So he was as soon as they came here, a year later, he was born.
Okay.
He actually, how to answer your question, did they assimilate? I mean, my father started to learn language because he was working here. He was here from '64, so he started
Hmm.
to learn language a little bit. His
Hmm.
father was here already. His father came first, and my dad met him after he was done in the army. When my oldest brother was born, and when he went to school, started to go to school,
Hmm.
he did not know how to speak English. So that tells you
Yeah.
how much, from an assimilation standpoint, Italian is still spoken in the house, obviously, because my brother
Correct.
didn't speak English.
Hmm.
So they actually thought he was, he couldn't keep up in school. They thought he was slow. They thought he was mentally challenged or whatever.
I see.
In fact, he just couldn't speak the language because my parents didn't speak the language at the time. So, or they didn't speak it well or speak it a lot in the house because my grandmother was here with my parents and she only spoke Italian. So my oldest brother only knew Italian.
Correct.
So did they assimilate? I mean, they learned the language eventually. They understood that,
Hmm.
it was important. And then my dad had to open up a business. So they learned the language eventually.
He really had to learn it then, and
Yeah, of course, of course.
he really, so. And then also too, I have it pulled up on the screen. I mean, I'm gonna upload it, but I actually have the book from my great grandparents. I'm putting on the screen, and there's the cover of the book. I have the inside, and what was incredible to me is that the name of the book was Fundamentals of American Citizenship, and this book is from, I think, 1939. And it's just, there it is. There are the chapters, and it's spelled out in black and white, and the lettering and the typing. It's just like, and I read through the book many times. All of it is, understanding the basic civics of the United States, understanding, the place in the community, the schools, law and order. And it's just, I've never seen any book like this, not even in my lifetime. And I cherish the book as well in my family. It's still, we have it on my workbench at home, but I wanted to put the picture on the screen there for that. But no, the challenges were of learning English. Again, they face a lot of the same challenges, and let's just say it was my great grandfather that used to write and used to carve his name into things. When they would ask him to like write his name, he would make like lines and rectangles on the Social Security card, which we still have. It's lines, circles, and scrigglies like put together, and could read or write. Again, worked in the mines. A lot of stuff, lot of interesting stuff. With my great grandfather, he basically went he was into cabinets. He worked in the coal mines, and then on days he didn't do that, he went to work at a cabinet place, and that's how he learned to basically build the whole inside of a house. He bought a house in the late like 30s, came in and literally did all the maintenance and everything inside himself. Because again, times were tough, and it's just people. It was a different world back then. You worked and you work hard to provide, just like today. But they faced the real challenge, the real difficult challenges of coming to a country with nothing, clothes on their back. And I have the picture too. I'll put that on the screen. It's just a few people in a barrel. That's it. Clothes on the back and a few barrels, like in Donkey Kong. I swear. And the picture is so old, it's yellow. I keep it. It's in an insert in my wallet. But for much like the stories of many Italian Americans is just it's inspiring because the stories they're different, they're unique in ways, but they're also very similar. It's just coming to a new place, coming to a new beginning, and also persevering, and then going on to be very successful, learning the language, starting a business that you had shared. Those are the testaments to America, and it's amazing and awe-inspiring. We need to hear more of these stories. That's why we had to invite you on, and we still have so much more to get through. And now some other questions I had too. Again, if you know any like are a lot of your friends predominantly Italian? I'm not being a certain way, but a lot of your friends are Italian Americans or other Italian Americans. I
I
would.
mean, I, I don't want to say naturally. I mean, I do have obviously a lot of friends that are of Italian descent.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot. I mean, even the guys I grew up with, a lot of Jewish friends. I'm
Oh yeah, yeah.
fairly spread across the board. I mean, I grew up with a pretty
Across the
diverse.
board. Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
grew up
no.
with a pretty diverse group of friends and stuff like that. So I, mean, I
Oh
do have
yeah.
a lot of Italian friends naturally, but
Mm-hmm.
not to say
Yeah.
that I secluded myself and closeted myself with just Italian friends.
No, no, no. Of course not. I'm just saying it's just there's always going to be when you come across folks to be like, oh, you're from you're Italian descent. The question always is, oh, from where? Okay, is that by here? Is that by there? When did your family come to the United States? The questions are just they're heartwarming. They're great stories, and it's just there's a little piece of everyone inside of everyone else when it comes to the heritage, the Italian American heritage, and with that, what are some of your favorite, Italian American family traditions? Now, everybody has their own, but what are some of your families? What traditions are you
So
hoping to
we
carry on to your children?
so we there's we've tried to maintain a lot of some of some real deep rooted cultural traditions. Like
Not,
we do like we make sauce in August. We make the tomato sauce, the jars. We do the wine in September, which is a big deal for us. It's a
beautiful.
12-month process. We make sopressata and we do capicola in December, January timeframe. Um,
And
you
I'm
make the
assuming there's all
biscottis and the cookies and this and that. My pa. So
and there's and I'm assuming there's so much there could be like a calendar of when what happens when around what time we do this around what time we do that
yeah. I mean,
like
the fourth quarter of the year is a busy time. A lot of things are going on from like August until like January, February. You know what I mean? So,
yeah
um, but yeah, I mean, just those are some just that those are passed down traditions. My parents did it when they came here. Me and my brothers have picked it up. We continue it.
awesome.
So it's a nice thing. Both my parents, thank God, are still alive, so we get to partake in that. And families usually get together. My aunts and uncles and cousins and
it's a
we
it,
get together to kind of do all that stuff.
it's really life is precious and it really needs to be cherished every day and each day is a blessing. That's the way I look at life. I know we've discussed that many times. Every day is a blessing to wake up and be able to be with your family and to see, as you mentioned, your parents still being, with us and all of that. Like you really, again, I lost my grandmother. It has to be about 11 or 12 years now. It feels like yesterday. You can recount the moment. You can recount when it happened, like what was the atmosphere, when did you hear? And it was a deep loss for our family. I'll say she was my second mom, to be honest. Like I spent just as much time with my mom than I did with my grandma. So it was a big loss for us. And she was the one that drilled into me that, you got to be in school. You have to pay attention in school. And if you don't get something, you have to chase your teachers down. You have to make them make you understand. And you have to really understand what you're being taught, not just agreeing. We had many of those tough discussions, and as well as the bruntness. I always appreciated the bruntness. You didn't always like what was said, but sometimes you had to learn the truth, and you had to be disciplined. And when you grow older, you realize that, and
I
that's
appreciate it. You appreciate your later years.
in your later years, and it's just incredible. And you look back on it, and you think of like that's where I learned a lot of my life choices and how to make decisions in my life from times like that. So, going on, we talked about family, we talked about your family history, some of my family history, and now I know you mentioned, and it sounds like it. Are you fluent in Italian, or are you somewhat fluent? Like I'm very elementary level. I took a course in college, but I'm by no means an expert. Now, do you speak Italian fully?
I am probably more than conversational. I don't know if I would say fluent like my parents, but I
Okay.
certainly have no problem getting around and been to Italy many times. Family's still in Italy. Still talk to them
Okay.
on the phone.
Okay.
So I have no problem communicating in Italian.
Okay, so you're definitely past conversational.
Yeah,
You're
beyond
five
that.
leaps past me. I could say that. What's a word or phrase in Italian that always reminds you of home? That always reminds you of like a time of growing up, childhood. Like what's something?
And
What is that?
I mean, a very important phrase. La familia è tutto. That's the family's everything, right? That's what it's all about. So
Family is
it's something
everything.
I have that hanging on my wall, and it's the truth. And it's a very meaningful. It's simple but meaningful phrase.
Family truly is everything because at the end of the day, it's really all that matters. And in a lot of what in the world that we see, it's crazy out there a lot of the times. And also, how do you think your experience as an Italian American might differ from being um, being born in Italy and being coming to the United States as opposed to being born here and visiting Italy? Now, do you have friends that you still have family in Italy? You talk to them. Now, what's the difference of being raised in either place? Like, what's some of the biggest differences that your family tells you from them living there and then you living
Well,
here?
I
Like,
mean, listen, it's again like, not that it's a loaded question. I mean, my parents came from a very small town. There was nothing. Southern
mm-hmm.
Italy is very rural. I mean, I'm sorry, very like farm, like there's a lot of farmland there. It's not like a city like environment
Like a
like
major
Rome
city.
or
Okay.
Milan or something like that. So so that environment in and of itself and being small, being there's not a lot of their town's tiny. There's like literally like 300 people in that town. Even if there's that, now it's on the coast, and it does get busy during the summer because it turns into a like a resort town almost. But that's only for about a month a year. Then
Okay.
it's dead. So it's I mean, what's my dad ended up moving to Milan as a young 13, 14 years old to go work and stuff like that. But um, totally different experience. I mean, I don't know if there is any real comparison to it. I mean, we're living in Philadelphia. It's a big city, lots of people around. You have amenities everywhere. You can get to things quickly. They had none of that. You know what I mean? It was just farmland and and water. You were mountains and water and farm. That's it. That's all it was.
Mountain water and farm. It's just it's the life is just
Well, no, meaning mountains, and then the ocean is right at the bottom of the mountain. And literally, that's the way it was. I mean, it's literally the mountain and the ocean. Then there's flat farmland in between. So it's
I
really
there's
it's
no
hard to make the comparison. It really
it's two
maybe if I lived
different.
in the middle of Idaho or something on a farm, I could compare it a little bit better. But we didn't. We grew up here in Philadelphia, so the comparison is very there really is no comparison.
There is no comparison. I got it. Yeah, no, because it's something when you look at it and you hear about people's beginnings and where they come from, and it's inspiring. And I know you mentioned that there's certain times a year, again, to do certain activities, very very cultural, like again making wine. Could you explain some of that? Because I know this tradition in my family had passed many years ago with when my great grandparents had passed on. We don't do those activities anymore, and I miss it. So this activity of winemaking, how big of a deal is it to you and your family? And like the food and super sot, like you mentioned, and all that. Like now, this is very very personal, and it's a deep family tradition. I'm assuming. No, tell us more about that
Well, I
experience.
mean, listen, it's they did it because they had to do it back in the day because
Mm-hmm.
they weren't buying wine, they weren't they weren't buying, they made everything but they made it in the house. Everything was homemade, so it was just a natural thing that was translated over to the United States when they came over. But now it's used as an opportunity to. I mean, we get together with family. It's all La familia è tutto, right? It's all about the family. It's always what it comes back. When we make it with family. We do the sauce, we do it with the family. We do
It
make the
is.
wine, it's all family. We do this, the super son, the capicola, we do it with the family. So it's an opportunity to get together. You're able
Yes.
to, you know, not experience it, but to, partake in these cultural, you know, uh,
Traditions. They're
yeah,
traditions.
traditions, right? Traditions, good
They're,
word.
they're traditions. These
Right,
are great experiences, and I know that's
right.
going to carry on. And with you said you had two brothers. Are they
Yeah,
older than you, younger than you? Do
two
they
older
have kids?
brothers. Two older
Two
brothers.
older
I
brothers.
I kind of lead the charge on a lot of it, and then they come along for the ride.
They come.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm very interested in doing that stuff. My other brothers are too, but it's just that I'm more leading the charge with it, and they kind of partake in it. You know what I mean? So
Okay. Now, I know some of that might be. Does everybody live in the same geographic location? Are they
yeah,
in?
so I mean, my middle brother, which is he's 5 years older than me, he lives around the corner from me. I can literally
Okay.
walk to his house. My
Okay.
parents are in the other direction, right around the corner. I have my oldest brother lives in Harrisburg, though. He's a physician in Harrisburg. He's got a medical practice out there. So that's requires a little bit of coordinating to do that, because it's coming from 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes away. So, um, but most family is pretty close. My oldest brother is probably the furthest, like immediate family.
Okay.
Um,
And where's
so,
he
but
located?
yeah,
Is
first
he out of
cousins are
state?
close. My first cousins are close. My aunts and uncles that are here in the United States are close. And then, I have first cousins and aunts and uncles in Italy still. But,
Okay.
so yeah, so geographically we're pretty close except for my oldest brother.
Well, the real question is when you do coordinate all together. Uh, there is nothing like that experience and that feeling of again La Familia, togetherness. It's everything, and that like those experiences. They may seem again. People are like, oh, it's family just getting together. I know firsthand that's not just what it is. You get to share stories. You get to talk about each other's lives. And you get to really bond, and that's one thing I always loved about the very few remaining family members I have left of Italian descent. A lot of them had passed on, but I know it was always deeply meaningful and personal. And even in my hometown, I wasn't raised in Philadelphia, but I'm here now. And for me, when I go back home, we would be on one avenue of a street, 2 or 3 blocks up. There would be an aunt of mine. Another 3 or 4 blocks down would be an uncle of mine. And at one time, we had like a few houses, and everybody was within walking distance because that's when they had purchased the property, and you didn't need a car to get around. And we would just walk. Family, like we have the pictures, and again, everybody you bring up, Italians, family heritage. Everybody's got the pictures, right? Now everybody's got the album. Everybody has like the old pictures, and we spend many times. I have my album. I think it's right in my closet. I like to open that up with some of the ones and look at that. I have pictures of my great grandfather next to a '54 Plymouth, and the picture is yellow. It's crazy, but I look back at that and I go, those people, helped me be where I am. I might not have even met them. I might not have even known what they like to do, or if I got to talk to them directly. But like, it's just incredible to look back and look at pictures and be like, wow, like this person did that. And know more about them and know about when they came here. And you mentioned that your dad is a veteran as well.
No, no, he's a veteran from in Italian army.
Oh, he's a veteran from the
Yeah,
Italian army. When
yeah.
did he serve exactly?
He served. He came out in '64, so I guess it was 2 years,
Okay,
62 to '64.
okay, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
you said the auto shop. Now he's still. I have to assume just knowing people. Does he still run this auto shop? And
No,
he
no,
has.
we sold. Like I was saying, we sold it back in '05.
Oh, it's still.
My dad's 83 years old now. He's
Okay. All right. I'm sure just because he's 83 years old doesn't mean he's not busy. I'm just gonna say that. I'm sure he keeps
he's
himself.
listen, he's always kept him. He's slowed down a little bit in his later years, but he's still getting at it.
He's still. I'm sure. Do people still probably come to him and ask him, be like, "Hey, I have this issue
Yeah,
with."
exactly. Yeah, he's not really in the condition to be doing that stuff. Not that he's still healthy, but he's old. He's older now. He's a little
He's
older to do.
listen, but
Can't get under the hood anymore. You know what I mean?
I'm sure. Listen, he could. I'm sure he could still, if cars were still made that way, I'm sure he could still pop the hood and could fix any
I
problem.
wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
Now, now that we're coming up on the holidays, now we have to ask this. I have to ask every friend of mine of Italian descent and other friends and other Italians of all groups. I said, do you have a favorite dish? There's so many foods. There's so many wines. There's so many desserts. Now, what does Anthony like? Now, when he has the food, is he going for the chicken parm? Or is he going for the spaghetti and meatball? Is he going for the a guy?
My my appetite is very, I don't want to say bland. It's not complicated. I like pastas, good meatballs. I like it's very easy. It's very easy to satiate me. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a lot
I,
of complicated foods.
no complicated.
Eggplant parm every once in a while.
Okay, but no, but do you have a favorite? Because everybody has a favorite. Like, so say you're at work, you had a great day in the insurance industry. You came home, you closed a big client, right? And you're gonna come home, to your lovely wife. And then for everybody listening, Anthony got married. What's it about? Is it about 2 years now?
Yeah, it's in August of 22.
August of 22. We got married. Anthony got married, and myself personally got married right around the same time. Both lovely wives, and I've met Lisa. Lisa is an amazing, incredible woman. I mean, I'm sure. I hope she would have the same type of things if we were to invite her. I'm sure she would say the same things. It might be a discrepancy. My wife, the door might break down, and then that's it. The show's over. It's done. It's finished. But anyway, and also, Anthony is the brand new father of a child. And what was the child's name?
So his name is his actual name is Michele Pio.
Okay.
So in English, Michael. Michele is Michael, spelled like Michelle, but it's Michele Pio.
Okay. All
We
right.
call him Michael in the house, but
And how old? And how old?
he's 13 months.
13 months. Wow. I bet you still remember the day when that date of birthday. I'm sure
Greatest day of my life.
no great. You said it before I can even ask it. Greatest day, like just emotions. I'm sure, and they say I don't know about that yet, but they say it just changes you as a person. Your whole outlook on life is new. Your whole life.
You're focused on different things for sure. Your
Hmm.
focus changes instantly.
And again, as we discussed and as we talked about, again, La Familia is everything. La Familia è tutti is everything, And from that day, you're a father, you're a husband, and then you're leading the example. You're leading the example in the household, And that's something that, again, me personally, I know I'll get there one day. It'll come. It will come.
There'll
I'll
come a
get there.
day.
There's no.
There'll come a day.
I'm still trying to. I'm still
I
trying
didn't
to.
think it was going to happen either. I was 43. It took me 43 years to get married, man. So you'll get there.
Hey, listen. It's different. The saying is different strokes, different folks. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is different.
That is the
You,
truth.
you just explained it to me. You went to high school, you went to college, you graduated from a great school, you had a business in New York and in Manhattan. Like all that takes time. It helps develop you into the person you are, and the story is just incredible. Us here, like, and even in Philadelphia, like. And I wanted to bring up also that you're a chapter president of an Italian American organization. Now, could you explain a little bit more about that? Tell all our listeners about how much that means to you, and what is that experience like for other people that might be interested in the group or want to find out more?
So I'm. I'll start from. I'll get into the parent organization, but just to start with the chapter. The chapter is Southeast Philadelphia Cosmi. There's an acronym. It's COSMI, and it
Okay.
means something in Italian. But the this chapter was start. It wasn't actually a chapter of. So Filitalia is the parent organization. Filitalia International. This is a subchapter of the parent organization, but it wasn't always. This was as of 15 years ago. This chapter, which was not a chapter originally, was started 43 years ago when a lot of like my parents. Dr. Nestico was the founder of the organization. He's in South Philly. He's a well-known physician in South Philly. Um,
Great.
my parents and a lot of the paisans that came from the same town in Italy, they had a saint by the name of San Marziale,
Okay.
and they started the organization as a way of venerating the saint. So this chapter, which, like I said, it was only became a chapter of Filitalia only 15 years ago, was its own standalone organization for the purposes of venerating that saint. And then, as time passed, Dr. Nestico started Filitalia International for the purposes of preserving the culture and protecting the culture, preserving the culture, and they eventually wrapped in this organization into that to be a chapter of it. Like I said, 15 years ago. Now we have 27 chapters now at this point. I
That's
think we have
phenomenal. Great.
yeah, we have like I forget what the breakdown is exactly. I think we have like 11 in Italy. We have some in South America, and the rest of them are in the United States. So
Outstanding.
uh, yeah, so
Outstanding.
I'm the president. The president of the organization now is Saverio Nestico, which is the son of Dr. Nestico, dear friend of mine. I've known him my entire life. And I'm the chapter president of Cosme.
That is just that's great, and just that's another. It's an incredible story, and so you have there's you can be a member of this group. They have events around year round. They have like check-ins. Like, how about a little bit more of that if people are interested, and how does
Yeah,
that?
so
How,
our chapter particularly, like I said, ours is a very unique and has a lot of history to it because of everything I just told you. It's much older than the organization itself, the parent
okay.
organization. Um, the big thing for this chapter or this organization was always that the celebration of the saint. The feast days in July. July 10th is the feast day of the saint, but um, we celebrate it. We have been celebrating it in May. I'm sorry, yeah, in May. So we would do a mass, we do a procession, we do like a little festival afterwards. We've been changing how we're doing it recently, just to try it out and try to get some, more attendance and all that stuff. Because usually, it's in May. It's tough because you have like Mother's Day. There's a lot
You
of
got
things.
a few things
There's
going on.
another Italian
You have
festival
a few
going on.
things going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it just gets busy. So we try to change the time a little bit, but it's always, that's always been the main event was to celebrate and to venerate the saint. That's what this chapter in particular, that's what it's about. Now we do, because of different leadership now, we've tried to get a little bit more, to have some smaller events along the way, just to get people excited and come out. We're one of the largest chapters. I think we have 140 members, I think, at this point. Um,
140
yeah,
members
so
in Philadelphia. That's great, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
that
there's another one, South Philly. So the two of us, we're in the same geographical region. So Southeast Philadelphia and South Philly. We're like basically butted up
neighbor.
to each other. So they have a big chapter, we have a big chapter. Um, so like I said, that's our main thing as far as like events. But we also have smaller events throughout the year. We did like a gelato aperitivo. We do what else did we do? We did a gelato. We did a cannoli aperitivo. One of the places down on Second Street.
Okay,
So yeah, we try to do
a lot,
things.
a lot
We
of
try to do,
active events. A
yeah,
lot of
activities to get
active
people
events.
out. Yeah, whether
Keep
it's
it
us or other
fun.
chapters or the organization, the parent organization. There's always things going on throughout the year.
Okay, yeah, no, and that's just it's great to see that folks. Like the membership is great. You do events around the year, and I know you're also active in the Columbus Day celebrations as well, and that's great to see. And it's highly important. It's highly
Yeah,
important to celebrate and recognize staples of Italian culture. And I'll tell you too, it's you may think you know as much as you know about culture or how you're raised, and it turns out when you start looking into it, you might even know only like a tenth. Like because if you were to go into Italian culture, you go into music, anything, inventions, business. There's so much to go into of where the Italian American community has contributed to our country, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's how we all blend together and how we assimilate and how we embrace those values together, and that creates a unity. And I knew like it was my great grandparents that came over. I never got to meet either of them, Peter and Mary Pellis. I never got to meet them officially, but when they had immigrated and they came over from northern Italy, and it was again the family was everything. Family was everything, and there's an
That's
interesting
all they
story.
had. That's all they had, a family.
That's all they had essentially. And the one thing that I could tell this story because everybody has passed on is just that. Also, I can know that again, any person, any individual, when you have a name attached to yourself and your family, the family means is everything. So you do things that honor the family. You don't do things to make a bad name or anything like that. So in my family, we had, let's just say it was a brother, it would have been a brother of my great great grandfather. And he had come over and he had a very interesting lifestyle, let's say. Didn't really have a solid work ethic. Just didn't really align with the life that my great grandfather wanted to have here in America. And the exact words to that brother of his were, "You're creating more work for my wife. You're not making a good name for us here." And he's like, "I'm asking you to leave." He told his own brother,
Hmm.
his own brother, like, "Hey, like, you are my family and my blood, but you're really making a bad name for us here." The person was involved in not a lot of good activities, didn't have a job, used to give our family a hard time. And that's what he gets hard line, respect for the family, and really, like, and I hear those stories of my great grandfather, and I figured it'd be like, yeah, because respect and family is everything. If you don't have that, and you don't keep things tight, you don't run a family that runs on what it really means to respect the family and to have a moral compass and really hold a tight knit group together. Like, what do you really have? And people I know of Italian American descent are hardworking. They're some of the most hardworking stand up citizens I've ever met, and I can say that against any friend that I've had. Any friend that I've had that's just either Italian American or not Italian American, just people in general. But some of the Italian friends that I have are some of the hardworking, most accomplished people I've met that have offered to teach me Italian, and I have to take them up on that offer. I probably refuse. They say you can't refuse. Make the offer you can't refuse. But I think one day I have to take them up on that offer and learn the language and learn the beautiful, to take that step. Because again, my wife right now is my wife, who is the apple of my eye, and I love her to death. She's pushing me so hard to learn Spanish, and I said if I can
Well,
learn just, I
you
can
can
just.
you can easily transition to either one. If you learn Spanish, you'll learn Italian pretty easy, or vice versa.
Okay. No, because for me it's like it's waters uncharted. It's like I'm trying to jump into the pool, but it's just like I'm
That's
hesitant.
start somewhere.
But I know it's they are like even in college when I was in college myself, I had my Italian teacher was from Roma, and he from Rome, and he used to love to watch his team was Rome, and we used to have a spat because I was a Juventus guy. And he would always come into the room and he'd say like, "Oh, those criminals in the black and white with the suits and the shirt," and
Was
he
he
goes, "Get
Lazio?
out of here,"
Was he a
and that,
Lazio guy?
yeah, he was a Lazio guy, and he used to say, and he always used to say it, and I loved him for it. I still email him once in a while. I don't think he's even teaching at CCP anymore, but he was one of the people that taught me the most in college about culture. He's like, "Listen, if you want to learn the English language, learn another language. Learn Italian, learn French, because you really learn to differentiate between learning another language and then learning English." So I was just like, it made so much sense to me. I'm like, yeah, actually, because when you learn how other languages, such as Italian or Spanish or French, how they use their words or syllables or nouns, you really see the uniqueness of English. And it was a beautiful thing that I had stumbled upon. But yeah, my Italian teacher in college was a great guy, and he was fun to be around. And to say that it helped me inspire me to learn even more about my culture and my heritage. And it's incredible when you look back on it. But again, family, work, education, staples of a success and staples of a successful life, successful profession, industry, business owner like yourself. And you said you got into the insurance industry. Now, with everything going on, the economy, and everything that's happening out there, what do you see in some of the challenges of having basically your business is in the insurance industry? So, what would you say going into the new year? Like, what are some challenges in having that? Because you are a business owner, I would like your insight on that.
Uh, I mean, listen, every industry has its challenges, I guess. You know, we're not insulated from that. Um, there's, I happen to do a lot in healthcare. Healthcare is just changing right now. So, especially in this geographical area in the Philadelphia region, Mid Atlantic region, probably even nationally, there's changes that are making it, you know, for what I do in particular, makes it a little more challenging. But I mean,
It's business, right?
you
It's
have to
business.
you figure it out. You know what I mean? Like you
We,
can't use excuses, and there are no excuses. You either figure it out or you die on the vine. You know what I mean? So there's always challenges. There's some industries have better you know economic better.
forecast, forecast.
Well, no, like the economics sometimes of what's going like the economy right now. Some do better in certain economies, some do worse in certain. You know, it's like a cycle. It's like, you know, so you can't use it as an excuse. You got to figure out how to persevere through it, and you know, but we're not insulated from that. It is what it is. Hey, listen, I've always had my own business. I worked for somebody else for a year out of school, and that was it. You learn to have like tough skin, and you learn how to figure things out and figure out what's the next step. This
Correct.
didn't work. That's not working. You have to figure it out. Or if you don't, then I don't know what you do. You know what I mean?
That's what happens. You
You
figure it
have to
again.
figure it out.
The whole point of business is just going in there, trying things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and it's important again. And it's if you have your own business and you're either starting it or you either have a current business. It's just like, okay, you know, what can give us the edge, what can give us the advantage, and how we can use that to again make sales and increase productivity, or in your case, get more clients, and then just growing your business again. And
Got to be
that's
smart about it. Got to be. You have to have insight. You have to be smart about it. You have to. Not everything's going to work out. You just got to be able to work through it. And
not everything's going to work out. And then also too, because again, we are on the Perseverance Mindset podcast, and you said you had went to school, you had studied engineering, you started your own business. Again, highly successful. And what we want to just go in and talk about is like, what advice would you give to folks that want to start their own business in any industry? Now, you're speaking to somebody who's right out of college, they have their degree, or they have a skill, and they really want to take that skill to propel them into an industry they want to go into. What are three quick tips that you would give advice to another entrepreneur that's inspiring to like the next person?
I mean, I would say don't be afraid. Number one, because fear kills everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid to go take a shot at something, you're never. I mean, you'll just never do it. It's like paralysis by analysis. You know, you
Yeah,
overthink it. You overdo. It's like Nike, right? You just do it. I mean, in the end, you really just got to rip the Band-Aid off and just go do it. You know, so don't be afraid of things. Don't be afraid to try things that are different. Get in your, you know, get out of your comfort zone, because doing things like this is not comfortable. It's, you know, you don't know when you're getting paid. You don't know. You know, there's a lot of like uncertainty, you know, as you develop and you start to figure out what you're doing. I mean, you can eliminate some of that risk, but you know, things can always go, you know, I guess they can always go bad. I guess
yeah,
you hate to be negative. You don't want to think negative about it, but you know, you have to be, you know,
aware.
it's
You have to.
that risk is always there. You know what I mean? You can minimize that, and it becomes, you know, you can minimize that by knowing more of what you're doing. So you get into an industry, you start to develop a business, you figure out the business, you're going to be able to figure out how to make money in that business. But initially, it's, you know, it can be scary. So, you know, I would certainly I would certainly say don't be scared to start things. I would say, you know,
Well, you can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid to go out there and get your hands dirty, do the work, learn, grow. Like that's definitely out there. And then like just what I'm hearing is that just avoid the hesitation. Like be smart about your decisions,
all right.
and then make them and stand by.
Calculated risk. It's about calculated risk.
Calculated risk, yes, calculated risk. Because again, either you make a decision. Decision is to say, oh, it's a good decision or a bad decision, or you stand there, you never make the decision, and then nothing happens.
All right.
So they're both equally deafening, in my opinion.
Take on. Learn from everybody. Some people, in business, they tend to get this like an ego, like an ego, like they
Yeah,
know everything. That's that is like, get that out of your head right away. I mean, I still have mentors. I still call people for like advice and this and
correct.
that. Like you never stop learning. I mean, I've seen people that are just, at some point they feel like they have gotten to a point where they don't feel the need to have to learn anymore, or, that's a surefire way to fail. I think ultimately in the end, I mean, you have
That
to constantly learning, sharpening your skills, talking to people, bring on,
correct.
if you're starting a business, make sure you're around good mentors and you have a good team of people that, you can bounce things off of, people that you can trust,
Hmm.
just people that can be, either in your own organization or at least good advisors for you. You know what I mean? So definitely a team of people. You're never on an island by yourself. I mean, you have to have a team of people around you to be successful. I think anyway.
Correct. No, that's highly important, and our listeners are going to take that knowledge with us as a golden nugget. We got to put a gold star next to that. Like even where I'm doing, I've been in a company for 5 years, and we've known each other for a few years now, and I could tell you this much: building relationships with not only
Right.
my team and people
100%.
I work with, it's the people around me, even the people I don't see eye to eye with, I don't work directly with,
Sure.
but they're involved in somewhat of I do. I get more information from that outside capsule
Sure.
than I do from the people very inside me. Because I go to them, I ask them like, hey, I'm working on this project. What's your part? What's your feedback? What's your insights on it? They give me that insight. I take that back. I take it, and it helps me in what I do. And in my opinion, great leaders know that and know the more that they foster that collaboration, more things happen. The more things happen, the business improves, and
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to be the smartest guy in the room. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't want to be the
correct.
smartest guy in the room, and
Correct.
hopefully most of the time I'm not. So
The saying is, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I'll say this to me, I can't speak. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, then I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm
yeah,
not. I
right. I mean,
want
you better have some better people around you. I mean,
to. Yeah, exactly. And those people, and again, and businesses and organizations, they're teams. They're teams. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the NFL, but they're teams. There's the quarterback. There's the offensive line, the defensive line. Everybody has their part, and it produces the result. And the result we want is either, depending on more clients, better reporting, better sales, and you see that happening with teams that can, in my opinion, have more foresight in what's coming into the future and know how to gauge it. And again, like you said, calculated risk, and everything's calculated risk, opportunity cost. If I don't do this could be the result. But again, I also want to draw the point on inaction, because just doing nothing and sitting stagnant, I mean, that's a slow killer. That can just lead and just kill off anything.
that leads to nothing, obviously. So
It leads to no
nothing gets
progress.
accomplished. Nothing gets accomplished that way. So
There's,
if you're okay
there's
with that, then good for you, I guess. But
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, and the thing is
if
to
you
be
have
like,
any
I want to
iota
be.
of a desire to do something, or you have an entrepreneurial bug or anything like that, doing nothing will get you nowhere real fast.
Not doing nothing, it'd be like, oh, if I make this decision, this will happen. But if I make this,
Paralysis by analysis.
you know, was that
Paralysis by analysis.
paralysis by analysis? If I make this decision, this could happen. If I make this decision, it could happen. They're
Sometimes,
like, yeah, just stand
sometimes you
there,
just got to do it.
hold your fists, and say, well, what could happen if I don't do anything? Huh? I'm just going to sit here in this chair. That's it. I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna sit in this chair, and if I don't do well enough at that, they're gonna take the chair away.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
You just got to do it. But again, there's this. I draw attention to this right behind me. This is the man in the arena, because it's the man in the arena that really makes the man or the woman that takes it upon themselves to do more, to learn about their craft, their industry, their job, and to excel at life, and to really have great insight and make things happen. I think everybody in their life want to strive to do something. I mean, I know I do. I know you do. I know you want to provide for your family. I know I want to provide for my family in the future too. And how we do that is by increasing that collaboration, either working for a company, starting our own business. If you're going to work hard at something anyway, work hard, think big, and succeed. I mean, that's how I take it. But again, Anthony, it was so great having you on. I can't stress enough how much our listeners are gonna love, and are gonna love the insight and the knowledge that you've shared with us. And we want to thank you for coming on for this great edition of Italian American Heritage Month, talking about families, heritage, culture, tradition, and it really was a pleasure. And I hope we can have you on again soon. There's so much insight that to be gained, and